Hey guys, welcome back to the Homegirls podcast. I'm Jillian.
I'm Fatima.
And I'm Sharon.
Happy New Year to everybody. We're all getting ready to dive right into 2023 over here. Lots that we want to talk about today. One thing that I found was really interesting, I saw a statistic that only 17.5% of all businesses are owned solely by women or majority owned by women.
Is that only Canada or is that?
That's Canada-wide as of like summer 2022.
Interesting. Do you know what it looks like for women in real estate?
Women in real estate, actually, like shockingly enough, 66% of realtors are women, which I think is
impressive.
Yeah. Like I wonder why that is. Like I think it's I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that this is like a sector where like women dominate. I guess like teachers and nurses as well. I feel like it's like the like giving kind of
nurturing. I feel like when you think of like home kind of when you think of what makes a home, I always think you think mostly mother, like I mean for most of us at least,
like a matriarch.
And I think also just as women naturally we're nurturing and we're caring, like, and I feel like that's why maybe lots of people will gravitate towards us when they are thinking of purchasing, leasing, anything kind of to do with your home.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, like, I don't know, like men are cold.
Yeah. That relationship aspect, I think definitely as women we have that down.
Yeah, like traditionally, like who do you want to like help you furnish your house? Definitely one of the girls
would have better taste, I think.
Yeah, you just need that like feminine touch, I think.
You know, that's really interesting, that statistic for women in real estate, because I honestly thought there was a lot more men in it, because it just seems like clients are gravitating more towards a male realtor. So that's interesting to see. So have you looked into the numbers of if those women are full-time and been in the industry for more than a few years?
I don't know what those numbers look like exactly. I do know, actually one thing I thought was super interesting that I saw, TREB, like the Toronto Real Estate Board, they put out a statistic that 26,000 Toronto real estate agents don't sell a home in a year.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually going to say it would be interesting. Maybe we can pop it up on the screen to see of that 66% that are women. I know that they say like 80% or more of real estate is sold by or transacted by only 5% of realtors. So I wonder how much of that 5% would be women. It would be a really fun and interesting fact to pop up.
Yeah, we'll have to grab that and pop it up on the screen here. It's super interesting. In my experience, like on a day-to-day, I find that I encounter lots of women in real estate, lots of female agents, but I also find that I encounter lots of like team leads who are male.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so true.
Yeah, I feel like the men are like, let's
round them up and put them on let's round them up. They got a lasso and like lasso all the agents under them.
Yeah, that's been like what I've noticed, like just in my area and like even in like my leasing profession and everything. Just what I like, that's been the norm, I guess, is like the men have like successful little teams and then the women are like successful by themselves.
I mean, I can say though for Brantford area actually, Kate Broddick and her team is the number one team. I mean, I think over 7 years maybe for her, so that's something to be really proud of for us women, because she's got a really impressive team here in like Brant area. Even they have a new office in Norfolk, I believe.
Like that girl's like kicking ass and taking names. She's killing it.
Yeah, it's really someone to look up to. It's really encouraging to see like a team majority women started by a woman who's been so successful, like you said, number one in Brantford. It's so awesome to see that. I don't see that often enough.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to happen more, and I think it will, like especially knowing that 66% of agents are women. Like we definitely need to start leading more teams.
Yeah, well, we're gonna increase that number.
Yeah, I hope so. One day we'll get there. It's it's like funny, like working through like the real estate industry and like and just in business in general, like I don't know, like I feel like it's so cutthroat and like all the guys are like throwing down and like they're just like so like aggressive about it, and then I feel like the girlies are all like tactful. Yeah. In my own family, all the female entrepreneurs are like crazy and they just like ran right into it, like no thought whatsoever. They're all doing great, but like they I don't know, not so tactful, not so, no one really worked on their business plan. So like, we're just gonna do this. And
so what are some of the businesses that your family has?
So my mom's had like a billion. As you guys know, she's a realtor. She also owns a staging company. That was kind of like a spur of the moment decision. Like I remember I was talking to her one day in like October. I'm like, hey, what's going on? She goes, I just bought a business. And I was like, oh, how long has this been in the works? She says, I just did it.
And there was her staging business born. I'm sorry, what is it? What's her staging business called?
All the Rage Staging.
All the Rage Staging. Just
but
like
good luck Googling it. This girl doesn't even have a website.
Oh, that's okay.
We're done.
Mouth, right?
Yeah, it's all word of mouth. But I mean, she's in the Burlington, I don't know, honestly, Golden Horseshoe. Like she'll go like Toronto to Niagara. But yeah, I mean, that's her current business. She's like tried others. Not so successful all the time, like, or sometimes just for fun, and then she's like, who wants to do that?
But I think that's with all businesses. I mean, I think to be brave enough and to be courageous enough to actually go and start the business, and knowing and understanding that it might work, like hopefully it works out, but then discovering that it might not be the right fit is also part of the process, and just pivoting and constantly changing and evolving your plan to make sure you end up in the right place with the right business.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always call it like failing upwards.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe things aren't going exactly how you planned the first time, but like every step is kind of getting you closer to where you need to be, even if it's not the path that you expected to be taking. Like, oh, I failed at this, but it actually put me in a way better spot. Like it got me here, like whatever. That's kind of how I look at it. And like my sister recently started like a cleaning business, and I'm like, you go girl, like I
Good
will.
for her.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I will 1000% pay you to clean my house. There's no way I'm doing it.
So there's a lot of trial and error when it comes to starting your own business, and I started a small business in 2021, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been into like the spiritual realm, I guess, with everything to do with metaphysical things, crystals, gratitude journals I've made from scratch. I was doing readings, tarot readings, and just really anything metaphysical and spiritual that will kind of help enhance people's lives. So I started my small business, Honey Fleur, last year, and it's sort of been kind of on the back burner for the past maybe like 6 months approximately, just because I wanted to focus on real estate. I didn't want to half-ass anything. So I'm still working on it behind the scenes, but I really just want to vamp it up, because my aim is to open up a shop one day, and I'm stepping back and learning from any of the mistakes I've made, any feedback I've gotten, and kind of rebuilding it backwards in a sense, so that once I open up my shop, it will be better than ever, and it will cater all types of people.
So what was your like initial inspiration to like, I guess, like take the leap and just do it?
So I've always been really creative and artistic. I just started off by creating my own earrings. The first product I ever made was evil eye earrings. They were like these dangle earrings I made from scratch.
Nice.
Super cute. I don't know if you guys saw me wear them before, but I'll wear them maybe the next episode. And yeah, so from there I started making different types of jewelry. I incorporated crystals into my jewelry. And then eventually I added crystals to my inventory. I got a crystal wholesaler. I started making my own journals. And then from there, it just really grew. When I would do readings, it was very gratifying in a sense where I was able to guide someone without fully giving them the answer that they're looking for, just helping nudge them in the right direction for them to figure things out for themselves. And it was so nice to do that, because there was a lot of people who lost guidance or lost a loved one, was in a horrible relationship that just kind of needed a little bit of a push, a little bit of inspiration and guidance to be able to get to the next step. And I loved doing that, but the only thing that was kind of stopping me from proceeding and going further with the readings was the fact that I just don't feel like it's ethical to be charging people for readings, to give them an answer for their life. You know, like a lot of psychics will charge people over hundreds of dollars, and I'm like, here I am charging around like $20, but even that just didn't make me feel good, because I want to be able to give this advice, but also at the same time, it's my time that I'm giving people. And the way I looked at it was like the $20 or 20 something dollars that you're giving me, it's like you're just paying me for my time, not necessarily the service. So it's something that I'm trying to restructure and incorporate when I open up the shop, because I don't really necessarily like calling myself a psychic or anything, more so like, I guess, like a life coach.
I feel like that's something like as an entrepreneur you'll always kind of not struggle with, but always try to balance, is like finding that line and that balance between ethical and fair. And also as an entrepreneur you need to definitely be compensated, because at the end of the day you are a business, and you have to profit to be able to continue. So it's kind of like a juggling, balancing act with those two, and I feel like as you especially now kind of are immersing yourself full-time in real estate, and you'll circle back, you're gonna have a better idea and like more like you'll have a better hold of your audience, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and be able to determine how to best get compensated, but as well how to give the best service for that, because that's what they're paying for. We pay for as a customer as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like working backwards in a sense, because you can really look at this sort of service, like giving readings and things like that, and incorporate it in any customer service job you've ever done. Like with real estate, I am providing you a service, and you do have in a way have to compensate for my time, but I'm still kind of doing it from the bottom of my heart. Like I do want to make sure you're happy, you have a good outcome, you get what you want, and that's sort of what I want to do with the readings as well, which is a beautiful way for you to put it.
I think what would be like fun and fresh for you would be like free readings on orders over 100, like
yes,
like, you know, like offer like incentives for them to actually buy the products, and then be like, I don't feel so bad because I'm not technically charging you for the reading, but I'm still making my money.
Yeah, that's something
that I need.
I was thinking about doing that because I love doing it. It's just so time consuming, and like you said, that's a great idea to add it as an incentive when you purchase a product.
And not only time, I feel like that takes a lot of energy too.
That's the other thing. Yes,
you're doing it truly from your heart, so you're actually putting yourself you're all into it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the other thing that I always keep forgetting, is when I do a reading, I have to make sure I'm in the right mindset. I cleanse myself with Palo Santo. I surround myself with the most relevant crystals, and I proceed with the reading. And I can't do that if I'm in a bad mood, or if I've been stressed out, had a bad day. I have to cleanse myself to be able to get a sufficient enough reading. And when I do it, if I'm so consumed by that person's energy, that's another thing. I have to cleanse myself out of it to go on with my daily life.
Yeah, I feel like it's very interesting when you start dealing with like that kind of stuff. I feel like people who like maybe like don't subscribe to that ideology, or like haven't had any like practice in kind of like the like more like spiritual like healing like area, like don't understand how much it takes out of you. Yeah,
I did an event in 2021 November, and it was amazing. I was so happy to do it. It was a women's event, right? And I had a lineup of women waiting for the readings, and I was all for it. But it was like one woman after another, after another, after another, and I'm like, it's like I need some time to cleanse between people to be able to go back to the roots, to go back to a foundation and reset, because I don't want to take someone else's energy and add it to the next person's reading. And I was so happy to see how excited everyone was, but it's just like people get too amped up in the moment, like you said, and they don't realize like we need to take a break.
Yeah, like you take on their like negative energy, or like even like whatever it is, like you take that all on, and you're like, I'm going to absorb it into my life, and then you're like, oh my god.
And it's not like a sideshow. I just can't keep like turning it on, turning it off. Like give me a minute, let me, you know, like with all this noise happening, all the music going on, it's like it's so hard to connect and give you an accurate reading.
Yeah, like let me like close my eyes, mix in a Gatorade, lie down for
like give me a second, let me like
recharge.
I actually was cleansing between each one, and I had to explain to them, I was like, okay, I need to cleanse, you know, refresh the energy. It's almost like I don't know what kind of example to give you, but like it's like you're making coffee and you use the same cup for the next person, you got to wash it, right?
Or even like when you're, funny enough analogy, when you're like smelling different perfumes, you reset your nose by like
with the coffee beans.
Yeah,
I know. I was even gonna say, like, if you like make a pot of coffee and then use the same pot to like brew a pot of tea, if you don't clean it, it's gonna be contaminated with coffee.
It's gonna be contaminated. So exactly. It's really interesting, and it's something I want to dive more deep into. And it kind of what I'm going to be incorporating into it is, I do come from holistic nutrition background, and I do want to finish my diploma in becoming a nutritionist, essentially. So that's something I want to incorporate into my shop once I open it up. And like, you know, I always give you guys like advice on what to take,
all
and
the
it makes
natural
me so
remedies.
happy. Yeah, I'll send them the instructions, I'll send them what to take. I actually used to work at a health food store, and that's when I was in school, and I was so happy working there, and I just can't wait to incorporate that back into my life, because even just giving you guys advice, makes me so happy because I know you can heal yourself with natural supplements and remedies.
Yeah, even today, we went for breakfast and oh my god.
As an example.
I'm like, oh my god, my head's everywhere. Like I'm having like such a hard time like getting anything done, like blah blah blah. And Sharon's like, don't go to the doctor. Try this first.
That's my slogan.
This first.
I know.
She's like, try this. It'll work. And if it doesn't, then go to the doctor.
Yeah,
you know the lion's mane I gifted to like my whole family anytime there's a birthday, Christmas, like if you guys are watching this, my family, they know, like I tell them lion's mane all the time. You guys can go ahead and search it up, or maybe I'll put it on the screen. The benefits of lion's mane, but like it'll help with your memory, your focus, cognitive function. It's the only thing I'll really take every day if I had to choose one thing. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say we call Sharon here at my house Dr. Sharon because literally like my little brother was sick once and she came with all these natural concoctions that we're still honestly using. They're great, like the the oregano oil, the apple cider vinegar with
it's like the herbs
turmeric.
in there.
It's honestly great stuff. Like I've always known that it's a route I would prefer to take. I never just actually had the knowledge or like the knowledge to actually go for it and what products to get, and now I have like Sharon that's a text away. So anytime I'm feeling any kind of way, I'm like, Sharon, what is the alternative natural to this?
I got you guys too, don't worry.
I know, I'm actually very excited to try it because like I prefer to like stay away from the daily prescription medication, like not even for any like health benefits, but just because I can't remember to take it all the time. And it messes you up if you don't take things consistently, or if you stop taking it out of the blue, like you need to wean yourself off. Like I don't live a lifestyle where that's plausible for me, so I would much rather take something natural that's gonna like give a similar effect, right?
So the big pharma, they do that on purpose. They want you to take, I sound like such a conspiracy theorist, but no, it's true.
I love
really
a good conspiracy.
Big pharma, they create medication specifically to have symptoms because they want you to take another medication and another medication. It's a domino effect. Whereas if you go and heal it at the root of the cause, like for instance, if I had like a tummy ache and there was something wrong with like my digestive system, I go and heal that part of my digestive system instead of taking something that is like a band-aid,
like an Advil,
but then that could cause potentially like me to, I don't know, be dehydrated, or I just don't mesh well with Advil or something like that. But you're more susceptible to have these reactions to medication, antibiotics, everything like that. And it just doesn't really help. And you just keep doing it and you keep doing it. And you just, it defeats the purpose where you can go and take, certain vegetable, a certain supplement or a herb, and it heals it and you can move on with your day and your life and then worry about the next thing if it comes up.
Yeah, like I have certain things that I've been taking antibiotics for forever, and now it's come to the point where like there's antibiotics that I'm now immune to, and it's like now the alternatives I've had are like either that I go on an antibiotic that I take every single day, which that just sounds so daunting to me and like horrific, or anytime I have like any symptoms, I've been suggested that I go to the ER before I go to work. So that would be me going to the ER in the morning to get an IV before I go to work, which is just insane. Like, who has that kind of time?
Why would they recommend that? I just don't understand, which is why like I ended up giving you some recommendations with that, because like I am so against antibiotics. If you, audience, for those of you listening as well, if you are ever on an antibiotic, get your ass on a probiotic ASAP, because I don't know if you know this, it's kind of basic knowledge, but antibiotics get rid of all of your bacteria, good and bad. And if you get rid of your good bacteria as well, then your gut, everything, your whole body will fall out of balance. Your gut is your second brain. Essentially, it's just as important as your brain, and it affects so many things in your body. And if you're not balancing that and getting your good bacteria in with probiotics, then you're really setting yourself up for disaster with other illnesses.
Yeah, I find that like so many people don't realize that like medications like that, or even like a good example of like a medication that kills everything, not just the bad shit, is like people who go through chemo. That's why when people get chemo, like they get so sick. But yeah, if you're gonna be on antibiotics, like when I go on antibiotics, like I had the most disgusting infection in my big toe from like an ingrown toenail a couple years ago.
So sexy, Jill. Show me a pic.
It was legitimately, guys, I was wearing leather shoes and I bled through them.
Oh my god.
Like, it was disgusting. And it was for like a couple months. I couldn't get rid of it. I was like, cut my toe off. Like, I can't live like this. It was my big toe on my left foot. This little guy. But
we'll put our e-transfer in the
so
the
I was
description.
on antibiotics for like so long because like it just wouldn't go away. Like, and I went to the doctor and they're like, girl, like that's fucked up. I'm like, I know. Like, and
If a
it was like
doctor says it's fucked up,
they're like, that's fucking disgusting, put that away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like please help. But like, yeah, I'd be like doing my little like salt baths with like my foot in like warm like salty water and then like slam in antibiotics, but then like literally shoveling Greek yogurt down my throat.
Yeah,
because I was on it for so long. I'm like, this is not good for me, like I can't be. And then I ended up going the steroid route, which was the right call. Yeah. But
not always. Okay, guys, don't take steroids. Don't juice.
Oh my god, topical steroids. They're different. Well, they're not different, but they're different. But yeah, I feel like so many people don't understand that the medications that you take that do have benefits are also detrimental to your health, and you need to be conscious of it. Like, take them as like a last resort, or if it's like if it's medically necessary, okay, but like don't slam an Advil because like you're a little sore from a workout or whatever. Like, don't, like, you shouldn't be like, even the most benign sounding like prescription or non-prescription drugs that we take can have negative consequences.
I agree. Like, if you for the smallest things, there's more you could do. Like, if you have a headache, honestly, most of the time, if you have a headache, you're dehydrated and have low blood pressure. If you get dizzy, like, just drink a bunch of water. I tell my family this all the time, specifically my mom. She's really bad at not drinking enough water.
You know, the other side of that, my mummy taught me this and I thought she was full of shit, but I actually tried it and it worked, so I believe her now. When she gets really bad headaches, she will literally like lick salt like she's about to do a tequila shot. Because when you lose your water and like you're like sweating and stuff, especially when you're sick, you're also losing a lot of the salt, and like a lot of people don't replace it like well enough. That's why like saltines when you're sick so
is good. Yeah.
But you need salt, and like I think a lot of people fail to realize that you need like fat, you need sugar, you need salt, like you need all these things that we say are like bad for you. They're bad for you if like you're eating like a bucket of salt every day. Not if you have like a little bit. Like, I think like it's like, you know, you need to like eat and like consume like all this stuff in moderation, but like we've kind of gone the opposite way where we're like at a deficiency of a lot of the good stuff.
Speaking of salt, did you know back in the day salt was just as, if not more important than gold? Because of that reason.
Yeah, like you need salt to live. Also, isn't it good for wounds too? Like salt waters. Yeah.
And then a lot of salt, specifically sea salt, has iodine in it, and if you become like deficient with iodine, you can start to have thyroid problems, or even if you eat too much iodine too, like with within seaweed and salt water.
Yeah, you need to be like balanced. And this is what stresses me out about like fad diets. And like I have like family members who are always like, I'm on a diet, I'm doing this. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
That like aggravates me.
I'm like, listen, like, oh my god, don't even get me started on
oh my god, I would like so okay, I'm not, we'll leave that for another episode. I think this is getting too nutritional.
Kind of do a bit of a 180 here just because we might be starting to sound like kooks. So one thing that I actually like really wanted to talk about, we were talking about the other day, and I was like, girls, let's save this for the podcast, was...
You're like, wait. Don't tell me. I need an organic reaction.
Kidnapping stories. We've all had experiences where we have been in some pretty like shady, scary situations.
This is intense.
Yeah. This is about to get real.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on like the opposite side where everyone thought I was kidnapped and I was fine. So maybe I'll go first because mine's
very anticlimactic.
Mine's a little anticlimactic. So I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
So when I was like, I don't know, 13 maybe, I went on vacation with like my family and friends. And we went to the Bahamas. Paradise Island or whatever it's called. Paradise Island? I think that's right. But we went to Atlantis, the resort, and we stayed on the hotel beside the resort. So we stayed off the resort.
Okay.
And we would just like get like the day pass or whatever to go to the resort every day. And we met these guys who were like our age. Like my one friend that was with us was I think 2 years older than us. These guys were, I think, a year older than us, a year younger than her. And we're like, oh my god, like, you guys are so cute. Like, let's hang out later. Like, living the dream. And it was their last night at the resort. So we're like, okay, like, let's meet up. At the time, my mom was like either just retired for the police force or just about to retire. And my mom also, like, my whole life has been in like cop brain mode. Like,
her mom was a cop. I don't think
my mom was a cop for a while. And her brain is always like, worst case scenario, everyone's dead.
She's probably seen some scary stuff. So
very scary stuff. Oh my god, she was a cop during like Paul Bernardo in the 90s and shit. Like, she's seen it all. She actually, side note, my mom arrested Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's so cool. Okay, we need to see a picture. Does she have a picture?
So
okay, well, why would she take a picture? Why would she? I'm sorry.
It was the 90s, like, they didn't have cameras on them.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, that's a story for another day.
A story for another day. LOL, Marky Mark. But anyway, so so we're on this vacation and we're like, oh my god, it's your last night, like, we have to like hang out, whatever. And we're like, our parents are never gonna let us go off like away from the hotel with these dudes. Like, as much as we're all like children, it's not gonna happen. We're like, we're just gonna tell our parents that we're meeting you guys in the lobby for like a half hour, and like it'll be fine. So that's what we did. We're like, hey mommy, hey Kim, we're meeting up with those guys. They met the guys like very briefly, so they're like, okay, like, fine, if you're staying at the hotel in the lobby, like, it's okay. And obviously we broke into Atlantis.
Oh my god.
At like 9 p.m. and we're gone for like, I don't know, a couple hours, and we're playing in the shark tanks.
Definitely
like, whatever.
not 30 minutes.
Like, definitely not 30 minutes. And then we get caught by a security guard, and it was this like very nice guy, and he's like, you guys aren't supposed to be here. And the thing about that place was you were allowed to walk through like the water park grounds because they had like aquariums and stuff throughout it. So you're allowed to walk through it after hours when there was no lifeguard, but you weren't allowed in the water. Okay. So we just played it off. We're like, oh my god, we're so sorry. Like, we had no idea. We fully fucking knew we shouldn't have been there. So like, okay, like, let's get going, whatever. So we take our time and we get home like 4 hours late, and the guys are walking us back to like our hotel, and it's crawling in police officers.
Oh, shit. Oh my god.
And like the three of us, like my twin sister and I, and then Emma, we all just had this like, we're like, oh my god, that's for us.
You just knew.
You knew. 100% for us. So I walked up to a cop and I was like, hey, I'm Jill, this is Emma, that's Shannon, I think you're looking for us. And they're like, yeah. They're like, where have you been? Like, your parents are freaking out. Like, everyone thought you've been missing. Like, we've been looking for hours. And we're like, we broke into the water park. We were in a cave in a hot tub. And they're like, oh my god. I remember like I mean, it all worked out. Like, we were fine. So like, our parents were like furious, obviously, but they were like at least thankful that we were okay.
You're safe, yeah.
So we got off a little easy, but I remember my mom was like a month later, we get home from this vacation, and of course it was like, I don't know, 2014 or something, so she's roaming, like, she doesn't have an international phone plan, and she's like, my fucking phone bill was $450.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, this woman's never been so mad at me in her life. But yeah, so it was reversed. Like, my entire family thought I'd been kidnapped and murdered by these random
in reality,
but in reality, they were perfect gentlemen. We went swimming.
Oh my god.
Okay, I guess I'll take over. I think we're all kind of the same age. So when this happened, for us, I think I was 13 as well, but my sister was 11. So we had just got dropped off at Square One Mall, and it was me, my sister Z, and our best friends, like, we're childhood best friends. I think it was Sabrina and either Justine or Kiana. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Square One Mall, but back in the day, there was like the Disney store on the right hand side right when you enter. So we walked into Square One, and just as we get to where the Disney store is, all of a sudden, like, we're looking and my sister's not there, and we turn around and there's this lady choking her. I kid you not.
Oh
like,
my
full on
god,
choking her. And we literally start screaming. My sister breaks free from her, and we run, and the Payless shoe store was there. We're so terrified. We look back, this lady's like chasing after us. We run to Payless shoe store. We hide in between the shoes. We're like looking out. We wait for her to pass by. We get security. They don't believe us. We're like, no, my sister literally had marks on her neck. We're like, she just choked her and was trying to take her away. They're not believing us. So we get security and we're like, you guys need to walk. They're walking us back so they can call our parents because we're so young. My sister was like 11 at the time. As we're walking back to the entrance again, she's there taking a baby out of the stroller. I swear to God, I kid you not. And the lady she was fighting, like the baby's mom was just went full force, like crazy mode. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
She was definitely on drugs. So they take us to where like the police station is at Square One, where security is. Police comes, security, everybody comes, and then they call our parents, of course. And as they're like cuffing her to take her out, because she was like totally cracked out, you literally see the security camera. She does like a somersault flip in the air, like lands, and we're laughing so hard. My parents finally come and get us all, and like we just look at each other. And to this day, like I can't believe that happened.
That's
like,
oh my god.
It was probably
Oh my
the scariest but funniest day of our life.
Oh my god. I think it's like it's one of those things like it's so funny to look back on.
But like what the fuck? It happened
because it worked out well. Like it all turned out okay, right? But oh my fuck, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And like had we not seen her like choking my sister, like I
she would have been gone.
I would have thought like my sister's like, why are you messing around with us? But she was literally choking her. My sister was so tiny at the time. I was like, what is happening? And like for security not to believe us, it was just insane all around.
Oh my god, that's wild. Okay, so for my story, I was actually 16, so I was a little older than you guys. So this was before I got my first car. I was in Hamilton waiting at a Tim Hortons, which was across from a bus platform. So if you know me, you know I'm late everywhere I go, anytime, any place. When we need to meet, they tell me an hour sooner and I come on time. Sometimes, I don't know. But so I saw the bus roll up that was supposed to take me to my house. So I was going home and I didn't check the schedule. So I was like, shit, what if it's gonna go? So I thought I was running late. I run it from the Tim Hortons to the platform to the bus, and I didn't realize, but I saw a couple other guys running with me. So I was like, fuck, I must be right. I'm running late for the bus. I go onto the bus driver leaves. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna take a second. So actually I was early to board the bus. I go onto the bus at the very back because I thought I was a fucking cool bitch. So I sat at the very back right, okay? So I sat at the very back right, and the two guys that ran from Tim Hortons with me had a guitar and sat in the aisle right in front of me. And the guy with the guitar held his guitar to like close the aisle. We were the only people on the bus. The bus driver left. So I was like, what the fuck? My 16-year-old ass was like, okay, I'm about to take all kinds of pictures. They're about to make a documentary about me. So people start boarding the bus eventually after 10 minutes. These guys were staring at me the whole time. I was taking pictures because this is creepy. Like I was somewhat intelligent at the time, and I was like, this is not a good situation. Something's gonna happen. People start boarding the bus keeps going. No one recognizes that there's a little girl behind these two big ass guys with a guitar blocking my path to get out, right? So I eventually was like, fuck, what do I do? So then thank God the bus eventually stopped at a stop where one of my friends got on. I'm like, thank God, because I didn't think I had the courage in me to push past with the guitar. There was no reason. It's just like so awkward and embarrassing. My friend came on the bus and I was like, oh my God, thank God. I called her name and she's like, oh my God, it's you. So I was like, this is perfect, let me get out. So I had to literally physically push the guitar out of the way because they wouldn't move for me.
That is so creepy.
So I went and sat down with my friend, and like the whole time we're catching up, hadn't seen her for a year. And then I was like, wait a second, I can't just get off the bus. These guys keep staring at me. So I was like hesitating. I didn't tell her yet. So eventually when it came down to getting off of my stop, I was like, fuck, what do I do? Do I get off at the stop? Like I have quite a bit of a walk to go to my house and it's dark out. Even though it's a nice neighborhood, like these guys could literally do anything, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, I got up actually. I wanted to see what they would do. I pressed the rope to indicate that I wanted to get off at the stop. I get up and they get up with me, and I started to walk towards the door to exit and get off of the bus, and they started to go towards me and push me off, and I was like, fuck no. So I pushed past them and I go and sit down with my friend. I'm like, can I come home with you? She's like, yes. And I think she immediately recognized the situation, and the guys turned around and stared at me, and the bus driver started yelling. He's like, is anyone gonna get off? And they didn't get off, and he started yelling again, and then they got off at the next stop, thinking that I would get off eventually. So they got off at the next stop thinking I would get off eventually, and I didn't. So then I went home. Or no, I went home with my friend. So we walked to her house together, and I called my mom immediately, and her mom called the cops. And I was like, because I'm into like true crime and stuff. So I looked this up. I'm like, I got to investigate. So this guy was ginger with a ginger beard, and he was with another guy who was pretty heavy. I Googled it, and this guy, the ginger guy, was actually wanted for trying to take a girl, and then another time for also flashing a girl on a bus.
Ew.
Oh my god.
So the police ended up coming, and we had to make a statement because they were actually looking for this guy. There was like a formal case going on looking for these people, and they almost kidnapped me, or
that is
worse.
Freaky.
So it was fucked up. But funny story, when my mom came to pick me up before the cops came and talked to me, she's speeding home. And if you know my mom, she's so funny. She's super cute too. She's speeding in a 40 area, and the cop pulled her over, the cop that I think was about to come to my house. And he's like, do you know how fast you were going? And she's frightened. She's like, my daughter. Like, she's like, do you know what happened? They're like, I don't know, but you fucking are speeding. Yeah. You're about to get a ticket and demerit points. She's like, what are you talking about? You're supposed to come to my house and talk, my daughter. I was like, Mom, just go home, take the fucking ticket. And then we go home. It's the same cop. And he takes my statement. It was so funny, but fucked up at the same time. I was like low-key traumatized, but safe to say I was a little bit more cautious getting on buses going forward. And then I eventually got my first car, thank God. But yeah, it was so close. Who knows what would have happened.
So, you know what's crazy? I was actually just thinking about this. Literally, I think you guys know I was in Toronto the other, 2 weeks ago now for my company's Christmas, right? Yeah. And while I was there, we got a hotel room, and then we went to a restaurant that was 2 blocks from the hotel, a 10-minute walk. I was gonna just leave by myself, but my mom's like, I don't really want you walking alone, I'm gonna come with you. And so is this girl Nicole, who was one of the wives of someone who I don't know what they did, but
a side character.
She was great though. I love Nicole. So we go, we walk down, literally a block to my best friend's house. We pick her up at, her apartment. She meets us outside, and then we're literally walking down Front Street, which, I don't know who knows Toronto, but, we're walking from...
near Union.
Yeah, we're literally walking from maybe 5 minutes away from Union to Union. I was staying at the Royal York, which is directly across the street from Union Station. My best friend and I are walking maybe, 5 paces ahead of my mom and this woman Nicole, and someone says something to my best friend and I, and we're both a little drunk. We don't acknowledge it, but Nicole, who was behind us, did. She acknowledged this guy, and then he immediately started following us. And literally this guy was standing in a little corner, in a divot in the street, in the darkness, and then barked something at me and Claire, and then literally started following us once Nicole was just Merry Christmas. And he started following us. So my mom, always in cop mode, notices that this guy starts following us, and she just starts talking out of the blue to Nicole about the fact that she was a cop. And then Nicole's like, oh, I actually do kickboxing, whatever else. So they just start having that conversation, and they increasingly get louder and louder and louder until this guy hears them talking about how they used to take down guys who were 6'8" and big beefcakes, and how they can kill someone with their bare hands, whatever. And then he just fucks off. And my mom told me after, and I was I had no idea. I had literally no clue. I didn't even notice their conversation, and they were basically screaming it to scare this guy off. No clue whatsoever. And this is 2 weeks ago. I'm oh my God. Yeah.
It's crazy. I feel especially as a woman, you have to be so aware of your surroundings. You gotta be alert at all times.
And yes, I was in a big city, but I was at Union Station. That's the only area in Toronto where I ever feel comfortable walking by myself. Ever. Right at Union, a block and a half either way, I'm fine. And then of course I'm getting stalked. And there was 4 of us and 1 dude, and
they're brave.
Real brave.
Just take you on.
Real brave.
Honestly, they think women are just vulnerable little shits. That's what I'm saying. You should come to boxing with me.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Me too. I would love to. I'm a bit of a sav. I'll just fight someone, but I'm sure my form's bad. I'm sure I'm not
ready to take that on.
Great for it. But it's really crazy. I think being in kind of the real estate profession, there's also such an added risk.
Yeah.
For us girly girls in real estate and the guys too, but you know, like there's so many situations where like you're alone with like clients and stuff like that, like you're sometimes meeting like virtual strangers. I know like where we met, that job like required us to sometimes go to like sketchy parts of town by ourselves at like 8 p.m. and meet someone we literally like they would DM us on Facebook and we hoped it was a real profile, and
we're expected to just carry through and do the showing. And there's a
I mean, I have a crazy story. Like I think the one showing that really will always stand out like was right on King Street in Hamilton, so one of those buildings, which was a maze to get to. Like it literally was quite like you had to go up the stairs and then through 2 buildings to get to the apartment.
That one was very difficult.
Yeah, so I honestly believe I was being protected because somehow I was there for the showings, but I didn't actually cross paths with the guy I was showing. So eventually I waited like 45 minutes and then I left. And like an hour later, he's starting to call me and he's going nuts. He's added me on every single social media, like so Facebook and Instagram at that time. And or actually I don't know if I had Instagram, I think it was just Facebook. He's commented on every single one of my listings and on all over my profile saying I'm so horrible and this and that. And he was so irate, like threatening me, calling me horrendous names. And I was like, dude, I was there for the showing, you didn't show up, I've tried to call you. And so after 45 minutes, I can't wait much longer, but he claimed he was there and he claimed he was upstairs, which is so weird because there was nobody there. Like, you know,
and there's no upstairs.
Walk over the roof. So I walked over the roof and everything and there was nobody there unless he was hiding. Thankfully, like at that time I had a bunch of showings.
So people coming in and out.
People coming in, like I'd always do them like that back to back. But I never saw him there. And I don't know if he was just waiting until it like totally calmed down or what. But yeah, like that was so scary from that day on. I was like, definitely if it's too dark and I don't actually feel that comfortable feeling, I'll just have to put my safety first and also like think about I've ordered like the coyote spray and like I'm thinking about one of those things you put on your keychain that you can just like press
fuck
on.
them up.
That too, I should get a weapon too. But yeah, like you just press on it and it alerts immediately like your 5 closest contacts and 911, I think.
But that's a good idea to get. I think being in real estate, that's so important because you never know who's going to show up to our open houses, to our showings. Like it could be someone catfishing you never know. Even if you vet them, they can give you the information you want.
Exactly. Like I know, like personally I always call someone, like if it's like late at night or whatever, like I'm not feeling safe, like I even like my ex-boyfriend to this day, like we've been broken up for 8 months now.
She's single.
Single.
Ready to mingle.
I still call him and I'm like, hey, I'm at a showing, I'm gonna put you in my pocket, and he's like, okay. Good. And he just listens in and just makes sure like if anything like funky starts happening, like he calls the cops, and he hasn't had to yet, thank God, but like to this day, 8 months after we broke up, we like barely talk. Like I'm still like, I need you to listen in on my calls. That's like, I need you to listen in on my showings because I need to like know that someone's like keeping an eye. Everyone has my location. I send literally everyone. I'm like, stalk me right now. I'll send people like names, phone numbers, emails, like descriptions, everything of people I meet.
I do before I go for a showing, I always send my boyfriend the address just in case. And I also had a situation where one of my colleagues sent me to do a showing for one of their clients that they referred me, and it was a very, very, very sketchy property that was actually meant to be torn down. So it was
contaminated or whatever,
not necessarily
or condemned.
It was
haunted.
Just haunted. It was haunted. And it was a horrible condition. So they wanted to tear it down and build a new property there. So I showed up. I didn't know the condition was so bad. It was different from the pictures, and it was in a really horrible neighborhood downtown Hamilton. And I showed up. Half the lights weren't working. The basement was like 5 feet tall. I just got a horrible feeling. Like I said, like I'm psychic. So I get like immediately, I just feel this energy. It was not good. One of the bedrooms actually had this really creepy, it was not even a closet. It was just like this hole in the wall that was carved out with like a mattress in it. I just did not feel comfortable going further than the living room, which is the first couple steps. So I immediately called my boyfriend because I was like, I didn't want to just end the showing. And also, I ended up just sending a video because the client didn't show up. So I wanted to carry it through to the end. My boyfriend ended up showing up, and he was even freaked out too. Like, there's so much to the property, just I can't even mention. It was so horrible and creepy, and never again.
Yeah, no, honestly, like, there's a lot we have to consider when it comes to safety, and like also men with no intention to do any real estate transactions that find our profiles and just, you know, DM us.
Like, you had a situation like
things.
that.
I did. So I ended up booking an appointment with a client who was interested in listing a property with me, and he was a dental surgeon. I'll say that at most. He was very professional, very serious. We had a conversation on the phone, and then when the time came, I found out he was already being represented by someone, which in real estate, if you already have an agent, you can't work with another one. I didn't want to impede the other agent's relationship. So I had a conversation with him. I was like, you already have an agent? How come you told me you didn't? And he's like, and he started laughing with me on the phone. And I was like, well, we have an appointment. I'm going to have to cancel it because your property's already listed, and, you know, you're already working with somebody. Why would you, you know? He just kept laughing, and I just had to end the conversation there. It was just really absurd.
Really weird what kind of intentions you have.
Yeah, like,
when you're
why
setting
did
up
you
this kind of meeting?
Why did you want to meet with me if your property's already being taken care
Also,
of?
why are you doing such a bad job at being creepy?
Yeah,
Like, that's the other thing. Like, put some thought into it.
Right? Like, you could be doing more. Like, I could, like, it
Like,
was so
you
easy
could
to
have
find
held
out.
off at listing the property till he abducted you.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly,
which is what I
right?
assume is gonna
Right?
happen. I
Like,
don't
wait
know.
till I'm on
Like,
the
don't
news
sue me.
before you,
Yeah.
you know, like.
And then list your property with the other agent. Like, hold off.
Exactly.
Like, you have access to that information. You can tell. Like, you can. Like, for people who don't know, we have this thing called Geo Warehouse. We can literally Google a person and find out all the properties they own, or we can Google a property and find out who owns it, or whatever. Like, we have access as realtors to this information where we can verify who we're meeting with, and if it's legit, if they actually have like the authority basically to sell the house. That's the intent of our
if they're
systems.
on title.
Yeah, if they're on title. So what a lazy.
He's so bad at
attempt to
kidnapping.
what I assume is kidnap you.
Yeah,
Like, that's so crazy.
it was weird. Like, he really was a dental surgeon. He was calling me from his office. I searched him up on Geo Warehouse. The only thing is, for some reason, I couldn't find his property. I think it was because it was listed with a TREB member, so that's why.
So you couldn't find it on
I couldn't
MLS.
find it. So that's why I ended up finding it on Realtor.ca, which is how I knew. And then I double checked with him again. He's like, actually, it is, and started laughing at me. But it's really like this professional that you'd think to respect and want to help, just ends up
having really
ill intentions.
I'll say this about dentists: as a career, they rip bones out of kids' mouths. So,
well, you know,
that tells you all you
I've
need to
heard
know.
they have a high suicide rate.
Real high suicide rate. Everyone hates the dentist. I wanted to be a dentist when I was little because my mom's ex was a dentist, and I loved him, and I thought his job was really cool. And then even when they like broke up, we started seeing another dent because, you know, some bad blood. Well, no, we started seeing a different dentist. My mom started dating a publisher, but who's my dad?
Yeah, her father,
stepfather, but but yeah, this other dentist, I even like still loved his job. I thought it was really cool. Like, he's like, oh my god, if you want to be a dentist, like, I'll help you pay for dental school, blah blah blah. And then I was like, oh my god, like, I have to sit like hunched over, like staring in people's dirty fucking mouths, and everyone I see hates me. Like, I understand why that job has a high suicide rate, like, compared to other professions.
It's funny. I was actually so I was like so confused with what I wanted to do with my life. I put holistic nutrition on pause. I was like, do I want to be a nurse? I ended up actually getting accepted into dental hygiene school, and I'm so glad I didn't get into it, because it's not something I wanted to do for more than 5 years. It just didn't make sense for me, but I considered it as well, and it's something else.
I don't know, like, like the thought of, like, I don't know, it seems cool, and then you realize that every patient you have can't stand you, except for me. I'm the only person I know who likes the dentist.
You like getting your head drilled?
That's filthy.
So the other day, when you were still in school, you were looking up. So I don't know if you guys know, but you guys know, but the audience, if you guys don't know, you can look up if people have been suspended
RICO,
or,
RICO violations to the guidelines and ethics. So okay, so this is what I want to talk about. So there was this cray case. Basically what happened was I was in class in my last thingy. It's called Sims, or simulation. But they would put us in breakout rooms, and it's kind of like a mock trial but for real estate, for those who don't know. And they one of the last steps of obtaining our license is that we do these little like simulated like offers and stuff like that. So I had this group, and we just kind of got through the motions of it like pretty quickly. So we had like a few minutes left before we were back into the classrooms, and like it was on Zoom. And this kid was like, my age, 23-year-old, was telling me about how, like, just for fun, like, he was looking through the RICO violations, and they literally list right on RICO's website, like, publicly. Yeah, it's public knowledge. If someone has their real estate license revoked or suspended, or they applied for one and aren't granted it for whatever reason, it tells you. So a lot of the revoked and suspended is like they've broken like a RICO code of ethics. We have to act in our clients' like best interest at all times, and blah blah blah, like it's whole thing. So we can lose our license if we don't. And then sometimes if people have gotten, like, not been granted a license, it's because, like, they had, like, a minor criminal offense when they were younger or something like that. So I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of entertaining to do while I'm bored. So I'm scrolling through, and I'm, like, looking at every single one, and I come across John Collins. I'm going to name drop here because this is public knowledge.
Yeah.
John Collins, realtor out of Orillia. I don't know which brokerage he was with. His license was revoked due to pending charges for first-degree murder.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. So I was, like, curious about it. So I looked into it. And basically what happened, he has been charged, I believe it was on June 10th. He was, is when the murder happened, and June 13th he was charged. He killed this realtor, Kay Kristen. I believe her name is Kinga, but like Kay was kind of her nickname. Yeah. Kay Kristen, 57 years old, I believe, had a daughter, killed her in her own home. She was a Collingwood realtor. So I'm not sure.
There's not much information on why he did it.
It's an active case right now. So he had a court appearance on the 13th when he was charged of June. He had a court appearance in November and in December. So I believe November 16th, December 7th. That's as much as I could find up to this point. But they've put a publication ban on it. So I'm not entirely sure why, like just due to the sensitivity of the case, I guess. I mean, it's fairly common.
Well, the victim's teenage daughter was home at the time that she was murdered, right? That's probably why, maybe?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think she was home. Because I think her body was discovered like the next day or something. But like, it's such limited facts. But I don't know. It's just so scary. Like, like you would assume that she's met, like, that they met through real estate, like through a transaction. Like Collingwood and Orillia like aren't far, like they're in the same area, right? Probably part of the same realtor board, I would assume.
That just gives me chills.
Yeah, like it's terrifying to think of, like, what compelled this guy to break into her home and kill her.
Yeah,
like it's so
definitely
crazy.
Have to do a more detailed episode once all the facts do come out. Like, I mean, I
imagine
it'd be probably a while before.
It takes quite a few times.
It takes
like
a while. Like
he
should be starting trial like in the next few months. He's been to, like, he's had court appearances, but because of the publication ban, just due to like the nature of the crime and the people that are affected and everything, they're like keeping it all under wraps. And also because any like released evidence could potentially interfere with the outcome of the trial, right? And like sway the public opinion if it's done by jury.
And the jury too. Yeah, it'll definitely have to be something we cover once all the facts are out. It'll have to be like a true crime episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you know what, that's the thing, when you first told us about this, I was honestly speechless that we've never heard of this.
That's the thing that's shocking. We're about I'd say 2 hours away
2 hours
from
away, 'cause
Orillia.
it's near Blue Mountains, right?
Near Blue Mountain, like cottage country. My best friend's got a cottage in Orillia. It's not far.
Yeah, I've literally done events in Orillia.
Yeah. My parents haven't heard about it. Like my mom, who's a realtor and who's done business in that area and like was literally at a conference in that area. Like the fact that like no one in the real estate community has heard about this, but like it also seems that no one outside of that small cottage community knows about it either.
I thought it would be big news because not only is it a first degree murder, but it's also like a realtor on realtor crime. There should be some more investigations.
Yeah, and I think that in our profession, I think that we're aware we should be cautious of new clients and stuff like that, like cautious of open houses if they're not like on a busy weekend and some, you know, strange person walks through the door. Like we're cautious in those scenarios. I don't think we've ever thought to be cautious with other realtors necessarily,
because you know we all go through the training required, and we also have like we hope that we all have a certain level of professionalism like follow the same code of ethics.
Ever since I've gotten my license, I found out that it's actually the total opposite. Not everybody has the same standards of care, not just to clients but also to other realtors. Like I've recently had a situation where I had a realtor with over 20 years experience who was completely unprofessional, did not give me adequate information for their clients. Like the information she had provided to me just was really absurd. Just gives you a perspective of not everybody is going to be doing the due diligence and giving the care that everybody needs. It's also frightening to hear that story because you really never know. Not everybody is thinking the same way we do.
Yeah, and you know what? It's good to know that, like, at least now, like, I mean, once this trial, I'm sure, like, once they have more information and more information is released, I'm sure there will be some additional protocols put in place just to ensure that doesn't happen again. But we also have protocols already in place. I mean, that's why when a potential client likes a property, they can't just go for the showing without the presence of a realtor. That's not legal. Or
if you have a back-to-back showing with another realtor, you put the keys in the lockbox and you lock it.
Yes.
And they have to like, you do not hand off keys. You they have to unlock it themselves and make sure that they've been granted access. Like there's protocols to follow for a reason. It's really unsettling. Like you never think your peers are the ones to be afraid of. It's always the strangers. Really unsettling case.
It's really quite ominous. It makes you think.
And completely heartbreaking to happen like so close to home as well. Like you never I don't know, like I feel like it's one of those things you don't expect. And like, oh my gosh, she was in her 50s, she was a mother, like absolutely brutal.
And apparently she was really well loved by the community.
She was.
It's heartbreaking that we haven't heard anything. I mean, maybe it's being covered in their city, but like you think it'd be a bigger case in Ontario.
I think definitely I'll be keeping an eye on that trial and seeing, kind of what goes down as more information comes out.
We'll keep you guys updated.
But I mean, I think that's probably it for us today. We've kind of talked each other's ear off. So thanks for listening, guys. As always, we're really excited. We've got a few new episodes coming out in the New Year's. But as always, thanks for listening. You
can check us out at Your Homegirls. So there's a period between the words. We're on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, you name it.
All
Facebook, Instagram.
Anyone looking to get in touch with us, you can send us an email at info@yourhomegirls.co.
You got it.
CO. And we're looking forward to chatting with you next time.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, guys. Bye.
Bye.